we're going to talk about fructose and glucose now, and their link with inflammation.
Mm-hmm. So there are direct links. I mean, certainly there's direct links through the liver. So consider for a second what sugar is. Sugar is a disaccharide. What that means is it is two elements. So table sugar is a glucose and fructose combined. Glucose is the sugar that gets into your bloodstream, and there are insulin receptors that allow the glucose to enter the cell. Fructose is independent of that. But fructose is very interesting. When you consume fructose, it first goes straight to the liver and is stored as fat predominantly without insulin. So it's early storage into non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It causes NAFLD. So it gets an early storage in the liver. Fructose has a second side effect, though, that most people don't recognize, but the agricultural companies do recognize it. Fructose activates the dopaminergic system, which is our addiction system, and glucose does not. Glucose activates the serotonergic system, which is our feel-good system, but not necessarily dopamine. Serotonin gives you a sense of tranquility. Dopamine gives you a sense of high. And the thing is that high fructose corn syrup, which is what's in our sugar-sweetened beverages, is purposely built so that we constantly go back and have another soda, go back and have another soda, go back and have another soda. And they concentrate the fructose to such a level that they spend a lot of extra money to dramatically increase the amount of fructose in food to make it more palatable and more addictive.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two elements that I usually worry about is that one, you're getting more non-alcoholic fatty liver, and two, fructose is much more, it makes food much more palatable and more addictive.
But with when it comes to diabetes reversal, do you tell your diabetic patients it's best to avoid both?
Yeah, we want them to avoid all sweeteners.
As a type 1, I know that. I mean, a piece of fruit can just shoot my blood levels up. So, you know, all that nonsense I followed for years of, oh, eat lots of fruit and veg, as if fruit and veg are just in the same category. And they're so dissimilar in many ways, because spinach or, I don't know, cucumbers are very different from mangoes and pineapples, but I treated them the same, because as long as I was having my 5 a day or 5 pieces of fruit a day, I was fine. And my blood sugars were awful. There was no way I could control them. There's just no way I could control them.
Yeah, it's called marketing, because they purposely have marketed you into believing that fruit and vegetables are healthy, and they put them together. But if they said to you instead, dessert and vegetables, you would think, again, dessert's not a vegetable. And that's what fruit is. Fruit is a dessert. It's a hyper palatable dessert. And right now we've manipulated our food supply so much so that if you took a glass of grapes, you took a glass and you put grapes in it and you smashed it down, it would have more sugar than the same volume of soda, because we've re-engineered our grapes to have so much more sugar in them. Mm-hmm. And same thing with almost all of our food supply. We've re-engineered it so to make it more palatable for our tongues that are now used to much more sugar.
So they're sweeter.
Much sweeter.
That's why the blackberries, for example, that grow naturally here in the UK, and they're very seasonal. They've got a short period growing season of, 2 or 3 weeks. And if you just pick them off the bush, they don't taste anything like the blackberries that you would buy all year round in the supermarkets, which are much larger and sweeter. So,
and it took you a lot more effort to pick up the berries from the bush. So you expended a lot of energy, and it hurt because you probably got pinched by needles, by the thorns. And so there's a beautiful picture of the folks harvesting bee honey in the mountains, I think in South Asia, and it's these bee harvesting, these honey harvesting folks, and they have to climb 200-300 feet up into the air to get up to get some honey from these bees. It's a tremendous energy expenditure to do that. So there's always a balance between how much energy did you use to get the resource and how much energy did the resource produce. And we've flipped that over. So now it takes us almost no energy to get the thing that we want. And the thing that we want has a tremendously high amount of energy, so that we have an energy imbalance. It doesn't take us hardly any money or effort to get a lack of nutrient dense carbohydrate. And so we have this energy imbalance. We can go get right from our cupboards, we can go get a ton of sugar, and it took us 30 seconds. Whereas before, you would have to work all season to get that much sugar to store for the winter when you really needed it. And that's why sugar was such a valuable resource. Now it's everywhere, just because we're hedonically driven, we're dopaminergic driven. And so we look for those sugar hits.